Hello and welcome to Mary Makes. My name's Mary and today I'm going to take you behind the scenes of how I made the Pudgy Penguin, the Mega-Pudgy Penguin crochet pattern. Right now I've got with me my first prototype, which I've already had to unravel several times already because I didn't get the proportions quite right, and I wanted to document my process to show you kind of the trial and errors that I'm going through. So first, in designing a mega pattern, I don't want to waste a ton of expensive material. So on my prototypes, I generally use size 4 medium yarn with a 4mm crochet hook, and I start with a small version before I then do everything the same but with a bigger crochet hook and with a bigger yarn. So this version, I'm starting with the head and I'm shaping it and I'm making sure the proportion is looking nice, but I'm already going to unravel this whole chunk here, which is like a decent it's like a couple hours of crocheting. But anyways, I'm going to unravel this section here because I decided that I actually want the head to be a little more defined and I wanted the shoulders to taper more. This makes me think like the penguin has shoulder pads. So I'm undoing this, but generally my process is to sketch it out in my notebook. So I have like some doodles of what I hope it will look like, and then I start writing the pattern while I crochet it, crossing out what doesn't work, rewriting it, and I just make sure to leave myself lots of room. Anyways, here's the first stage of prototype and of the first prototype, and let's see how this goes. Okay, I'm super excited to show you the completed body of the first prototype. This took me so long to crochet. There's like a ton of stitches in this. Anyways, this is about 75 rows, and the biggest is like a little over 100 stitches. So, you know, this has a lot of stitches in it, but I'm really happy with the defined neck and the more tapered shoulder. So I'm glad I made the decision to unravel that whole chunk that I had done before. Gosh, that was so frustrating. I like unraveled this yarn and recrocheted with it and unraveled it and recrocheted with it, and then I did that again, unraveled and recrocheted. I crocheted with like the same ball of yarn 3 times. But I digress. This is a good shape that I'm very happy with. What I'm going to do next is develop the arms, the flippers, the feet, and I'm also going to mark off where I want the white part to go, and then I'm going to make a second prototype with the color changes to make sure everything looks good. Because I used a base of 8 in this designing this pattern, I actually don't think that I'm going to run into issues with like the white part spiraling. Yeah, I definitely see my rows. They're looking pretty straight. So even if they're off by a little bit, there's enough stitches in each row that I don't think it's gonna be a problem. But yeah, time to work on parts and then work on prototype number 2. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. Time to finish prototype number 1 without the color changes before I go on to prototype number 2 with the color changes. But look at this base. It like is so nice and flat, and it'll like sit up nice, which, you know, a really wide base I think is really important for Mega Amigurumi, especially because it's gonna be huge. I estimate that this is gonna be about 40 inches tall. This like needs to stand and support its own weight. Okay, it's late and I'm about to go to bed, but I just had a crochet epiphany. I realized how to fix the white shifting towards the left. You know, naturally when you're crocheting in the round with the right side facing you, you'll notice that these lines are naturally going towards the right side if you're right-handed. And you know, I was trying several different methods of trying to counteract that, including just like doing a color change like later on just to move the color over, but this results in a shelf, you see. So like this stitch that's marked would be white, but then the next one outside of it would be gray or body color. Same with this next one here. That one would then be white, but then because the white stitch has moved over, you know, there's like a shelf, like it doesn't look like a smooth, clean line. To get a smooth, clean line, I just experimented with a couple of things. I was kind of on the brink of figuring this out with my original Pudgy Penguin pattern, I think, but now I like really have it figured out. So looking at this second version of my prototype here, I have a weird little, I guess, bump here. This is where I tried putting an increase in the gray part before then working a decrease in the white part, causing it to shift over and move the line. However, that looked awkward, and then on the other side, in order to keep it consistent, I then worked an increase in the white part and a decrease in the gray part. So that made this weird bump here. However, in the round that I just worked, this last round, I figured out that if you just work an increase in the gray part or body part before you go to the white part, that this increase pushes the line over just enough so that the white part is more centered. And then after, on the other side of the white part, after you finish all the white stitches, going back to the gray, I worked a decrease, and this just like, it's enough movement of the color to keep it in line. So even though I'm like adding a gray stitch on the left side before the face, the white face, and then I'm removing a stitch, so like even though the number is going to change, like instead of, you know, 29, 22, 29 or whatever it is, it's going to be 30, 22, 28. So even though it's like doing that kind of switching movement, it's at least keeping the white part straight. And I'm like blown away about this. It's so simple, and I can't believe I didn't figure it out sooner. And I can't believe there's not more crochet patterns that have vertical lines that do this. You know, I would have thought someone figured this out by now. But anyways, I feel so clever. Maybe somebody has already figured it out and I'm just reinventing the wheel. But I'm really stoked about this Mega-Pudgy pattern. Okay, so my idea about using increases on one side of the white part and decreases on the other side of the white part was like so close to being perfect. But what happened was, because increases were sitting on top of increases, that head was starting to bulge out in that direction, and decreases on top of decreases, it was starting to pinch in. So I spent the past couple days crocheting several more heads, and like each of these is like 1,000 stitches or something. Like the rows are 80 stitches, and I went all the way to row 29. So like this has been a lot of crocheting and a lot of frustration, but I think I like finally figured it out. Not this one, this head is the best version of the head I have. And the way it turned out good was because I'm actually pairing my increases with a decrease right next to it to make it go together, or to not only keep the number of stitches consistent, but to also keep the shaping consistent. But what I figured out that I'm actually doing is like I'm taking veins, like if you think of stitches stacked on top of stitches as a vein, and I'm moving them over. So I also did this in the white part because I realized with one of my other prototypes that even if I don't do anything with the white part, the white part is still just sitting on the white part, so it's always going to be shifting over. So I figured out that I had to do something. Anyways, I finally came up with a prototype where it's really even on both sides. It's very vertically straight, and I'm happy with it. And I'm like kind of exhausted from doing this. That was a lot of testing to get it right. onto the neck and belly, but I think I know exactly how I'm gonna do the neck and belly to make sure the lines are clean. But I'm so excited for this pattern. All right, so I thought I had it figured out. I finished this second prototype here, full prototype, I guess. This one would be the first one without the white part, with the white part, and I'm proud of it, but I also know I want to make changes to it, just because on the face part, when it came to that spiraling and keeping this line straight, and really I'm just with this stitch here, I just went back in with gray yarn so I could cover it up, so I would remind myself to change the color when I'm writing the pattern. But for the body, since the body just like goes on for so long, the increases on top of the increases warps its shape slightly. I don't know if you can tell over video, but maybe from this angle, yeah, you can kind of see how over here it's bulging up slightly and here it's like slightly bucked down. That's because these increases in the white here and these decreases in the white along this side, you can kind of see where that pinch is. That's what's keeping these lines on either side so straight. And I need to figure out a way to make this shaping not so bulgy and bad looking. Oh, this is killing me. And this has so many stitches in the body. This is like, I don't know, 40 rows of 100 stitches. So that's like 4,000 stitches. That's like a lot. This took me a long time to make and I just threw it on the floor. At least though, I've hit this point where I have really good sections. I just need to refine it. So I think I can do this in one, maybe two more prototypes, but my notebook is starting to get really messy. It's, I don't know if you can see some of this, but there are pages of like good bits. There's pages where I've like crossed out whole sections, rewritten sections, and I'm trying not to make it so messy, but it's getting to the point where I like need to color code it so I remember what is like good and what is bad. I think it's just time for me to type out my pattern. Oh, I guess I should explain what makes my notebook so messy. What makes it so messy is that when I'm crocheting, I write down what I'm doing, but then I undo what I'm crocheting. So like when I was doing this curve at the bottom for this white part here, I undid these like 5 rows, like maybe 4 times. So I have a lot of crossed out lines for just these, 3 rows. And it's too bad that like crocheting, you can't just like make a copy of it like with a Word doc, like let me make a copy of this and then I'll make my edits to the copy, and then if I like that I can keep, it's like I have to make another one now. I have to make the copy. I just finished the 3rd prototype for Pudgy Penguin, Mega-Pudgy Penguin. Just to show you again, here's the first one. The crochet stitches are spiraling, so you see just like how over the length of the body, if you're just increasing it by following the regular increase pattern, increase every 8 stitches, increase every 9 stitches, and so on, it doesn't work. Remember, this one had this warped white bottom and it's just not quite even on the shaping. Well, here's my 3rd prototype. The shaping is a lot better. The white is even. I got the bottom to be consistent on the bottom. And obviously, as you can see, I have the wings, the beak, and the feet on it. And now I'm super happy with this prototype. So I'm feeling good about the worsted weight version. And I know that the chenille like mega version is going to be just really cute and awesome. So the next step now is for me to get some photos, send it over to Pudgy Penguins, get their thoughts on it, if they like it or if they don't like it, If they like it, I'm just gonna make the Mega-Pudgy with chenille. If they don't like it, I'll have to revisit this pattern, but I'm pretty happy with it. This was a lot of stitches. This took me ages, and I kind of wish I recorded a video showing it off before I sewed on these parts, but that's okay. As far as my design approach for making these, I just made a lot of tester versions. So first I made these little tiny feet, but then I was like, does that look too small? And you know, just holding up the foot to the penguin, you can see here, like that's a very small foot. So these 2 feet are out. Then once I knew the feet had to be like one size bigger, I made these 2 bigger feet. This foot just is a cylinder, like it just is like a regular normal bowl that goes upwards on the side, but the feet that are actually on this penguin are tapered so that it has a little bit more shaping to it. As for the beak, kind of the same thing. I made a couple beaks, but it was pretty simple to do. There's really not too much I had to do. I think I just undid the one I was doing anyways. But anyways, the beak, same thing. I decided how big I wanted it, kind of just went for it, called it a day. The wings, same thing. I made a pair of wings, but I had to undo one, and you can even see like how one of these yarn ends like is a lot more untwisted or frayed than the other, because I actually had to sew this wing on not once but twice because I didn't get it in quite the right spot, and then once it was in the right spot it was like too small, which is why I made the bigger ones. But then once I made the bigger wings, I was like, oh, that's the right place to sew it on, and it looks big and proportional to it. So I'm quite happy with this penguin. Oh, that was a long design process. I hope that all makes sense. But yeah. Yeah, wow, this was like a lot. It's like almost midnight right now while I'm recording this quick vlog because I stayed up late to finish this guy. And I mean, I'm happy I stayed up late, but you know, it's just like a lot to work, and then also to work on projects outside of work, and then also to live life. But I'm doing it. I'm doing all right, and I'm really excited about this pattern, and I'm really excited to get the chance to share it with you all soon. Last vlog for this video. So I have finished the wizard hat. It didn't take me too terribly long to design. First, I tried a hat that was very skinny. Then I tried a hat that was very squat, and then finally I wanted something in between these two and ended up with this hat. So typical Goldilocks story, too small, too big, just right. And I am just so excited that this pattern is like completed. So with that, at this point, the process of my pattern designing is over. I will just put this into the PDF, format it nicely, make sure I have step-by-step pictures showing all the steps, and then it's time to publish this. I hope that you found this video log interesting and helpful, seeing my progress, my regression, my testing, and I hope that this inspires you to write your own crochet pattern, because after all, it's a lot of trial and error testing, but ultimately I think this is a really fun activity if this is what you're into. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!